Good morning, friends. Today we are going to tackle a task that has been on my list of things to do for a long time, and I'm a little nervous to tackle it. But I was definitely influenced by a few people doing similar things recently in the last few months, and I knew I needed to look over my Goodreads TBR. I throw books on my Goodreads TBR very much at a whim, and I don't necessarily do any updating. Honestly, I never have. Well, not since like 2020, which is the oldest book on my Goodreads TBR, because I did look. And honestly, what I was interested in reading in 2020 is not what I am necessarily interested in reading now. I know that Leandra about 4 months ago did a video where she actually deleted her entire want to reads list. I will link that one down below. And also Izzy and Heather did a live where they went through and kind of pared down their lists. Again, I will link that down below as well. So those two videos definitely influenced me to finally, pick up the camera, screen record the Goodreads TBR and say look, what do I actually still want to read? Reading tastes change. And what I was interested in reading at one time is certainly not necessarily true as of today. But let's look. I currently have 416 books on my want to reads on Goodreads. I only have 150 books on my physical TBR. And honestly, I don't know how many of those books are actually on this list because I'm not necessarily good about adding the books as I buy them to my want to read. So there is definitely a discrepancy. So let's dive in. Let's get started. We'll talk about not all 416. I will, when I have something to react to, I'll let you know because we can't talk about each one of these books. And we are not going to go into in-depth ideas of any of them, truly, because again, 416. But I personally will be going through all of them, so I do have the coffee because I do think I'm going to be here for a hot minute. So the oldest book on my Goodreads TBR is Stalking Jack the Ripper, and I do know that this is somehow like a historical fantasy novel, and I have yet to read any of Carrie Maniscalco's books. But truly, I love a good serial killer book, and I think this sounds interesting to me still to this day. So even though it's on the oldest thing on this TBR, I do think I want to keep it there because I do think I'm interested in trying this series. I really do. I need to get to it because seriously, 5 years is a long time to have something on the TBR. Now for the next book, we have Tempting Fate. And this book I have actually already unhauled. I owned it. I unhauled it. I don't know when I unhauled it. Honestly, it's been a long, long time. So I am going to remove this one for sure. Murder at the Mistletoe Manor. I do not think I am currently in my cozy murder mystery time, or at least not enough to go and start a lengthy murder mystery series. I have enough in my physical TBR and probably new releases that will be super hyped in that genre that if I wanted to pick up one, I would probably go in that direction anyway. So I will probably be removing a lot of cozy mystery and murder mysteries from my Goodreads TBR. I just don't read enough of them to have this huge backlist of books that I want to get to. It has nothing to do with the book necessarily and a lot to do with just that's not what I'm currently reading. I read mostly romance, fantasy, and the occasional thriller. The Book Thief, I honestly am not sure. I know it is a super, super popular book, but I am not currently reading historical fiction at all. So the only reason I would keep this on my TBR is because people love The Book Thief so much. You know what? This might be the first one that I leave for the comments to decide. Is this one that I absolutely have to read? Let me know. Next, we have one of Karen Slaughter's books, and I have recently unhauled all my Karen Slaughters. I read one book by Karen Slaughter, and realistically, I just didn't really care for the writing style or really the graphic nature of a Karen Slaughter thriller. So that is an author I'm definitely going to be removing from my Goodreads as I stumble upon them. The next 3 books, I am actually going to delete all of them. One of Us is Lying is a YA thriller, and truly, I'm not that interested in reading a lot of YA right now. It would need to be a very specific type of YA, and I don't think this is it. Grown Ups, I recently unhauled. It was on my These Books Will Self-Destruct from 2024. I did not read it. Not really shocking. It's not really a book that I would necessarily gravitate toward. So that one has already been unhauled. so definitely needs to be taken off this list. And finally, we have another like cozy murder mystery for the same reasons as the first one. We're going to take it off. So we are definitely going to keep Someday Maybe by Lauren Graham. I have read Lauren Graham's other books, and I'm very excited to read this one at some point. And also Meet Cute. I honestly remembered nothing about this, so I did have to kind of like look into this. It's a contemporary romance that actually was a nominee in 2019, I believe, for Goodreads Choice nominations. So I do think I'm going to leave that as well because I do have a few friends who have scored this pretty highly. So even though I don't really remember it, I think I might still be interested in it. That being said, The Forgotten Orphan, historical fiction, I'm not reading historical fiction, and I actually own this book and unhauled it, so there's really no reason for me to keep this one on here. So I did keep a few books, and we are now at the 11th spot on this list, or what is currently 11 now that I've deleted so much above it, and we are at Sourdough. This one was about a woman that starts talking to her sourdough bread. That concept sounded crazy to me, and it instantly went on my TBR. At this point, I don't think I care anymore, so I'm going to take that one off. The Rose Code, I'm also going to delete because I recently read the Alice Network for a project. And again, I'm not reading historical fiction. There was nothing against that book or against the author. I'm sure it's like great historical fiction. I'm just not in my historical fiction era. Then we have Nightfall, which is listed as a YA horror. I have no business reading this from that description. Like none. I didn't remember what it was, so we're going to remove that. The Lost Bookshop of London, again, historical fiction. I was once a historical fiction reader. I am not that person anymore. I'm just not. Pride and Premeditation recently showed up in a book haul reaction video that I did, and that one I do plan on reading at some point. There was actually a tie between that and another book of the one that I needed to read next. So I am probably going to be reading both of those as part of the voted for the reaction. So this will actually probably be read sooner rather than later. We do have a slew of books that are about to come off this. Outlawed, I've already unhauled. I heard horrible reviews after I purchased this, so I unhauled this a while ago. Wild, I also unhauled this. It's a nonfiction. I don't read a lot of nonfiction. If I ever do want to pick this up, I'm going to pick it up on audio, but I don't know if it's likely. The Girl in Cabin 13 is going to go the wayside of me just, again, not really wanting a ton of large mystery thriller series. And The Paris Library is going to come off because, again, I'm not a historical fiction reader anymore. Last Chance Books is staying, though, because that is the other winner, the tied winner with Pride and Premeditation. So I'm going to be reading that one really, really soon. So I may upset some people with removing Beach Read from my TBR, but honestly, I have read so many Emily Henry's. Well, not so many, but I've read 2, and both of them were very 3-star for me, and I don't think I have a lot of interest in reading more. I may try Funny Story because everyone I know wants me to, but if I pick up an Emily Henry, it's going to be Funny Story. It's not going to be Beach Read. I'm also going to remove Life After Life because, again, mystery series. We just don't need that right now in our life. If I pick up a mystery series, it'll be a more current one, for sure. Obviously, I have decided to keep The Last True Poets of the Sea, The Forgotten Book, which is on my buzzword TBR for this year anyway, and also The Bookshop on the Corner. I don't know if I will love The Bookshop on the Corner, but I do love a book about books, and the title makes me think You've Got Mail, so I am going to give that one a try. I am going to remove, though, The Nature of Fragile Things, historical fiction, and The Seven Sisters. I unhauled that as part of These Books Will Self-Destruct last year, so that has destructed and left. We definitely do have some books, though, that will be making the cut. The David Bad trilogy. Come on, I need to read that. The Kite Runner. Again, I can't believe I haven't read it, but I haven't. So we're going to keep that one on here as well. The Wicked Deep by Shane Earnshaw. I adore Shane Earnshaw, and this is the only Shane Earnshaw backlist other than The Pumpkin Queen I have not read. The Pumpkin Queen I'm kind of holding for like fall season, and I was going to read it last fall season. I just didn't get to it. But like I could read The Wicked Deep at any time. I love Shane Earnshaw's books so very, very, very much. Bitter Greens is a fairy tale retelling, so we're definitely keeping that one. However, A Big Ship at the Edge of the Universe, I actually tried and DNF'd this book. I would have thought that it would have removed it from my want to reads, but it did not. So we are going to remove that because I really did not like the world building in that book. And there was just like a lot of things I didn't like. So that's been DNF'd and surely will not be picked up again. I am going to keep Christina Henry's Alice on here. I know it's horror, but I have read a Christina Henry before and did enjoy it because it is a retelling. So even though it's horror, the retelling really does still make me enjoy these series. And that does get us finally to the end of page 1. I don't know how many we deleted to have 20 stay, but we are getting this number down. I think the closer and closer we get to like current time of when I put it on my TBR, there will be less and less things unhauled. Again, we're starting at 2020. I'm a very different reader. We're now at June 2021. So, we're getting closer to 2025, kind of, sort of, maybe. So right now we have Circe, absolutely staying. The Mermaid, absolutely staying. The Invisible Husband of Frick Island. I am still really interested in reading this book as well. The Kitchen Front is going to go, again, historical fiction. I'm not going to explain this over and over. I'm just not that kind of reader. So from here on out, I'm just going to say historical fiction as a reason, and we're just going to go with it. The Library of Lost Things is definitely staying, and so is The Bone Shard Daughter. Graceling, I have on my shelves, and I'm still very interested in reading this series. The Starless Sea, everyone says Erin Morgenstern is definitely going to be my vibe, so we are going to keep that. A Court of Thorns and Roses. I don't know. I am going to try Throne of Glass, and I might try this as I'm now in my Fanro era. You know what? Let's keep it. Let's keep it. We're going to keep Sarah J. Maas. We, however, are going to take off The Forest of Vanishing Stars and What the Wind Knows, historical fiction. I'm also going to take off The Drowning Kind. This is a horror. I thought it was a thriller at one time, and I think it is like a thriller horror blend, but I know it's like a weirder horror, and that's just not my vibe. Anything called The Invisible Library, I don't know what it's about, honestly, but that title is going to keep it on my TBR. Truly, I love magical books about books, magical libraries, that is staying for sure. We are going to remove They Went Left and House of Hollow. They Went Left, historical fiction. House of Hollow is a YA horror. And Rainey loves House of Hollow and told me very, very much with all authority that I would hate this book. So it's going to come off this TBR. 80 Days to Elsewhere, I still own and I am still interested in. However, I did get rid of The Woman in the Library a while back. I had kind of a beat up mass market version, and it ended up just kind of getting out of my collection due to the way it was starting to fall apart. It was time to release that book. I got it used and it wasn't in great condition. And I just don't know if I'm that interested in reading it now that I don't own it. The Little Shop of Found Things is a historical fantasy. So that could work for me, honestly, because there is a fantasy. However, it does list time travel. So I actually am going to leave this, and I'm going to need people to tell me how repetitive the time travel is. I am going to get rid of the +1. I just don't think I have much interest in reading that anymore. And the operator, historical fiction. You can really tell how much my reading taste has changed since 2020, 2021. I did used to read a lot of historical fiction, and that is very obvious by my Goodreads TBR at the time. It's not going to show that in current years, as I kind of moved away from that over the last, 2 to 3 years. I am going to keep The Guilt Trip, A Whole New World, and Happiness for Beginners because I do think I have interest in reading all of those. Obviously, A Whole New World is a retelling, so duh. But I am going to get rid of The Cousins for the same reason as I got rid of the other YA by the same author. And also For Your Own Good, again, it's by Samantha Downing, who writes more horror-leaning books. So these are authors that I've just decided I'm not going to read because I'm just not the intended audience for them. I'm sure they're great books. I'm definitely going to keep Gilded and An Anonymous Girl. I actually own An Anonymous Girl, so I definitely will read that at some point. I'm not keeping a lot of thrillers, but the ones on my shelves, I do kind of have plans to read as kind of palate cleansers throughout the year. The Bookshop on Rosemary Lane, I just read the synopsis, and I just don't think that that's a book that I'm that interested in reading now, so I'm going to take that one off. But we are going to leave The Hazelwood. I love a fantasy set in a woods. And also My Oxford Year is a contemporary romance from what I could read on the synopsis, and it still kind of caught my attention. So that one's going to stay as well. The Switch by Beth O'Leary is also saying this is a Freaky Friday book, and I do love a good Freaky Friday concept. So we have now made it to the end of page 2. We have found 40 books we want to keep. Let's keep going. The Night Circus is definitely saying, again, Erin Morgenstern, I really do want to try, but I am going to get rid of The Last Thing He Told Me. I just don't think this book would necessarily speak to me now. I Hunt Killers, I have unhauled this series after not reading it during Buzzword last year. It's a YA series, and it really did sound interesting to me, but like it has been sitting on my shelves for a very long time, and really I had no hastening to want to pick it up. So I've already unhauled that. So that's coming off. Wicked, I'm also going to pull off. I don't think I'm that interested in reading the books. I love the musical. I love the movie. And I think I just want to leave it there. Jade City, I am going to leave. I don't know if I'm going to like Jade City. I'm not sure I really love urban fantasy, but I am going to give Jade City a try. I am at some point. But then we have back-to-back historical fantasy, historical mystery situations in The Lake House and The Forgotten Garden. So I'm going to delete both of those. But then we do hit a stretch of books I am going to keep. So we are just going to do our scroll. I am going to remove both of these Lisa Unger books. I really liked One Thriller by Lisa Unger, but I found that my enjoyment of Lisa Unger books is very hit or miss. So I'm going to remove these. If I decide to pick up a newer release by them, I did leave one earlier that I did leave because it was a more current release, but these older releases I think I'm going to take off. I know it seems weird, but I like Grady Hendrix horror. I do. The like sarcasticness to it, I enjoy. So Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires is going to stay, but The Winemaker's Wife is going to go for historical fiction reasons. And with that, with deleting that, it bumps The Girl in Red onto the bottom of this page and gets us to the end of the page. And again, I'm keeping the Christina Henry horror retellings because I do like them. Then we have a chunk of books that I've actually unhauled, every single one. The Crimson Lake, I have unhauled. A Great Deliverance, I have unhauled. Homicide in hardcover, I unhauled. And The Scent Keeper, I unhauled. So all 4 of those have been unhauled and I will be deleting them off this TBR as well. Shockingly, I am going to keep Mind Games. This book has like a Criminal Minds vibe. We're following profilers. And I do think I still have some interest in starting this series. I don't know. It's just something about it is speaking to me. So we're going to keep that one on here. We're also going to keep Kingdom of the Wicked for the same reason I kept stalking Jack the Ripper, is like I really want to try Carrie Maniscalco's books. And I'm also going to keep Defy the Night because I do like Bridget Kimmerer's A Curse So Dark and Lonely. And I do want to read more of the author's series. So I'm going to keep that one on as well. But I am going to delete the Worldworth Girls. That's a tongue twister, honestly. We're going to take that one off because I don't think I have any interest in reading that one any longer. And I'm also going to delete the Various Haunts of Men because I truly don't even know what that's about and it doesn't interest me to find out. Okay, I had to scroll down past some epic fantasy that I definitely was interested in reading in, and we're now at The Lovely War. And again, historical fiction, not interested. Jane Steele, I'm mixed about because this is a Jane Eyre retelling. So I think I'm going to keep that one, honestly, because I do love a retelling. Frankly, I'm a sucker for one. The Huntress, I'm going to pull off for historical fiction. And The Reincarnationist, I've already unhauled that series, so we're going to take that one off as well. So that leaves me at The Bone Shard Daughter, which I could have sworn I said earlier, so I might have this on here twice somehow. Goodreads sometimes does that when there are multiple entries for like different editions, but I don't remember, honestly. So I'm not going to delete that one just in case it's the only time it's on here, but I feel like I've already talked about it kind of in passing, but maybe it was a different Bone book and I'm mixing them up. Very possible. I am going to get rid of A Cold Dark Place for the same reason as I've gotten rid of a lot of other books that are the starts of like long mystery thriller series. I'm going to keep the Abby Waxman books because I really do like Abby Waxman's writing after reading The Bookish Life of Nina Hill. And I am going to remove the V.E. Schwab book. I know we all love V.E. Schwab. And for all of you that love V.E. Schwab, I'm very glad. I have tried multiple books, including dark academia books, which if I don't like your dark academia, I don't know what to tell you. It's not that I don't like them. I just tend to be very 3-star about all of it. And I do think it is a writing style thing for me. So I've long ago said that I'm not going to pick up any more V.E. Schwab books. And obviously this has been sitting on my want to read since long before I decided that, and probably long before I read any of them, or, you know, around the time I started reading them. So we're going to take that one off as well. I know that's a hot take up there with Emily Henry, but here we are. So we do have a good section here of all books that I am going to keep because they all definitely sound like Brittany books, but I am going to get rid of Stealing Shadows. Again, I don't want these long mystery books. I don't want them. I don't read them anymore. So we're going to delete that and let's see what it bumps onto this page because that will add something to this page. So I don't know if we're at the end of it yet. We shall see. Let's find out. Oh, 5 Feet Apart. No, we're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of 5 Feet Apart. YA, love the movie, have no interest in reading the book. Okay, so let's see what that means. We're gonna pop onto this page. Let us see, let us scroll. Ooh, the Last Chance Library. Yeah, that can stay. Let's move on to the next page. So the next page is really populated with Christina Lauren. Obviously, this was about the time that I probably read my first Christina Lauren and then added their backlist. Still interested in reading all of those. The Great War, we're gonna take off. Let's all say it together now.
Historical fiction.
The bookshop of yesterday's, I'm unsure of, but I do think I'm going to keep it because I do love a book about books. Notorious, we're going to take off mystery series. Gallant, we're going to take off V.E. Schwab. Again, we've already discussed this. Kill and Tell, long mystery series. We're going to take that one off. And then I think the rest of these we're going to keep for a while. Girl in the Walls, I'm interested in. We decided to keep the Sarah J. Maas's, so we're going to keep that one on there. Wonderscape is a cute, like, middle grade, and I'm not reading a lot of middle grade right now, but I'm still interested in this one. Rebecca, I do want to read this at some point. I don't know. It's one of those classics that does spark my interest in trying. Lost in the Neverwoods is on my buzzword TBR, and I'm highly interested in this. The Winter Garden still speaks to me. Roomies, we're keeping the Christina Laurens, and The Stranger in the House, we're going to keep the Sherry Lupinas too. I do love a good Sherry Lupina thriller as like a palate cleanser. But then we do have a chunk. After keeping a chunk, we have a chunk that we're going to release into the universe. The Surgeon, start of a long series that we're going to get rid of. Somerset Abbey is historical, so that one's going to go. Nightwalker, large series, we're going to release that. From Dune with Death, mystery series. Then we have a Riley Sager, and I've tried Riley Sager multiple times. It does not work for me. The author's writing style and I do not work together. So we're going to get rid of Riley Sager as well. Not that I could tell, it looks like a thriller, and it's not a thriller I remember anything about or have any interest in. So we're going to get rid of that one as well. So that's a big chunk. That's a big chunk that is going to be coming off the Goodreads. And with that, we have now reached January 1st, 2022. Is this where I start, having the same reading taste as past me? We will find out. We will find out right now. Honestly, so far, so good, because the only thing on this that I am not interested in anymore is Comfort Me with Apples. It's a horror. We're gonna take that off. Honestly, Dying for Christmas, a Christmas thriller, I think we're going to keep that one, but we are going to get rid of the Diamond Eye historical fiction and the Annalise for the same reason. And with deleting those last two, it bumps up into this page, Foraging Silver into Stars, which I just recently got in a blind date with a book, and I'm very excited about that. And also a V.E. Schwab book, which we are going to remove. And that's going to bring up Seasons of Storm by Els Cosmano, and I am going to keep that book on here. I'm not sure if I'm that interested in the series anymore, but I do own part of it and I haven't unhauled it. So we're going to keep it for now. We did have a good chunk there again of a lot of fantasy books that I was still interested in. So that's exciting. But now we have Will Trent. It's a mystery series. We're going to get rid of that one. Hex, I am very interested in reading, but I am having the hardest time. I have tried to purchase this book so many times, and it's actually really hard to get here in Canada. So at some point, I will get this book because I am very, very interested in it. But The Case of the Murderous Dr. Cream, I have already unhauled that, so we're going to remove that one as well. The only other one on this page that I'm not interested in is The Secret Keeper, which is historical fiction. So I'm going to remove that, see what it bumps onto the page. Honestly, it does seem like we're starting to get to the point where my current reading tastes and my past reading tastes are starting to align, which is exciting because I was like, who was she? Oh yeah, that bumped up Hello Stranger, which I actually have the NetGalley arc of. I need to be shamed. A lot of my NetGalley arcs are very old. Everything's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We'll do a read it or delete it at some point of NetGalley arcs. It's fine. Well, as soon as I turn the other page, we instantly got one we're going to take off. What Light? I'm not interested in that book anymore, so we're going to take that one off. I am going to leave The Hangman, though, because I have heard nothing but fabulous things about this series from Paige and Crystal. So that one is staying right where it is. This next one, Run on Red, I'm not interested in this. I think it's a thriller. I'll double check that before I delete it, but I'm pretty sure that's a thriller and that one's gonna go the wayside as well. Same with The Light After War, historical fiction. We're gonna remove that. But The Diabolical, I just got on my Christmas Advent and I'm very excited to read that. 'Tis the Season for Revenge is a Christmas book that someday I will read at Christmas. Like, I am determined. Mr. Perfect on Paper is right behind me and staying right where it is, but I am going to get rid of this mystery series. You may think it's odd that I'm keeping The Last Party, and the only reason I'm keeping it is because I own it. If it was the start of a mystery thriller series that I didn't own, I probably would take it off, but I do own it, and, you know, I think I will eventually read this, so I am going to keep that one on here as well. We were doing really good there for a second. We were just scrolling. By really good, it was like 6, 7 books in a row, but like that's a long stretch from what we've been doing thus far. And then I saw My Dearest Darkest. Horror is coming off my Goodreads. Like, who was I thinking I was going to read horror? But after I deleted that, the rest of this page is good to go. Again, you can really tell that we're starting to get to the point where like, this is what I'm currently reading. We're in 2023 at this point. Like, the timelines are starting to converge. We just scrolled a page and a half of books that are all staying. We did that. Look at us go. But we now hit What's Done in the Darkness. I don't really have any recollection of this book. I just read the synopsis really quickly and I just don't really think I'm ever going to pick this up. So we're going to take that one off. And I do think we're also going to take off Muscles and Monsters. I'm not really reading monster romance much anymore. I am going to keep Now She's a Witch, but I am going to get rid of Strange Sally Diamond. I haven't heard the best reviews from Leandra and Rainey specifically, like when we personally talked about this book, so I'm going to remove that one. And I'm going to keep Fear the Flames, but I do think I'm going to get rid of The Perfect Ruin thriller that I don't own, so there's really no reason to keep it on the TBR. Then we have an alien romance series. This was probably around the time I was reading Ice Planet. Like, it probably was. I did go through an alien romance era. I am no longer in that era, and I do have some on my Kindle that I will be picking up at some point during Read It or Delete It, and realistically, those will probably be the last ones that I pick up unless that era comes back, which it may, but I don't foresee that happening right now, so I'm going to remove that one from the Goodreads. I'm also going to remove A Dead and Stormy Night mystery series that I don't even recall, so we're going to get rid of that one. We're definitely going to keep the hockey romance. That one is staying. Rebound is some sort of hockey romance. I know that much. The next two are thrillers. We're going to get rid of those. I am going to keep When You Trap a Tiger. And then Summer Suns is a horror. So that's going to come off as well. So then we did have 3 books that we are going to keep, which are All the Sinners Bleed, Enchanted to Meet You, and Sweet Pea. I'm still interested in all 3 of those. But the Shifter series, again, along with my alien romance time, I don't read a lot of Shifter romances anymore, so those 2 are going to come off. Now, you will notice I did scroll past a couple of cozy mysteries that I am going to keep, mostly because these specific ones were very much recommended to me specifically, so I am going to keep those on here, but I am going to get rid of The Crucifix Killer because I have no idea why it's on here, honestly. Not a clue. We are definitely starting to get to the point where my reading tastes have, started to show, but I am going to remove Dashing Through the Snow. I have so many holiday books that I want to read, and this one will inevitably just keep getting pushed off because it's not anywhere near the tippy top of my holiday TBR. We were doing so good until the end of this page when we got to Captive of the Horde King. We're going to take that one off. I'm not really interested in this. And honestly, I don't even remember much about it. I think it was like brought up in a sprint, which tends to happen. I just add them really quickly and then like look at them later. And I think that's probably how this got on here. Which, deleting that adds the cat that saved books to the end of this page. And you know what? A cat that saves books, we cannot take that off the TBR. So we are well into 2024, so I don't really see us removing that many things because my reading taste has not changed since, 2024, except for Smoking Gun. That one we are going to remove because I realized last year that I am not a cowboy romance girly. I'm not. And I can't see me ever picking up another cowboy romance. So this one is going to come off because I am just not, it's just not my vibe. I've tried Chestnut Springs. I've tried the Done and Dusted series, whatever series that's called. And I'm not a cowboy romance girly. And with some scrolling, we have now made it to the end of my Goodreads TBR. We are now down to 327 books. So we actually got rid of almost 100 books. Not quite, but that was a pretty big unhaul, friends. A lot of them were for the same reasons of I've tried authors and now I know I don't like those authors' writing styles, so there's no point in continuing to pick that up. Or I'm no longer in those reading eras of like historical fiction, mystery thrillers, that kind of thing. Or finding out that I'm not, any longer a alien smut girly or a cowboy romance girly. Like, give me a hockey player any day. When was the last time you went through your TBR and did a clear out of your digital TBR, not your physical TBR? It's really easy to kind of look at the shelves and do unhauls there, but your digital one. Let me know. If there's a book that I kept and maybe I shouldn't have, let me know. Is there a book that I got rid of and you think that it should get back on the TBR? Make your argument for it down below. I'm here. I will listen. I tend to follow direction. I have no idea how long this video is going to be once I edit it down and, do all the special things. But thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one, friends.